Secretary for Health. President, I move the second reading of the Medical Registration Amendment Bill 2026, or the bill. The Medical Registration Ordinance is the primary legislation regulating the medical profession in Hong Kong. The Medical Council of Hong Kong, established under the ordinance, operates under the principle of professional autonomy and self-regulation. It performs key statutory functions, including the accreditation of medical school curricula, intern training programs, registration of doctors, license examinations, formulation of code of conduct, handling of complaints relating to doctors' professional misconduct. The Medical Council plays a critical role in maintaining professional standards, protecting patients' interests, and strengthening public confidence in the medical profession. In light of heightened concern in recent years over the work of the Council, particularly its complaint handling mechanism, the government considers it necessary to conduct a comprehensive review of the legislation to address these issues and implement reforms in a more targeted and in-depth manner, so that the regulatory framework for the medical protection profession can keep pace with changing times. The ultimate goal is for the Council to better discharge its functions and fulfill its mission of ensuring justice, maintaining professionalism, and protecting the public. The bill introduces reform in 4 key areas. First, the composition of the Medical Council of Hong Kong will be restructured to support broader participation. Whilst maintaining the same number of doctor members to preserve the professional functions of the Council, we propose increasing the number of non-doctor lay members from other healthcare professions, raising the proportion of lay members to 31%, and that's over 30%. For doctor members, we propose broadening their representation to ensure more diverse backgrounds for qualifications and experience are incorporated. This includes adding the Commissioner for Primary Healthcare or their representative as an ex-officio member, introducing a new doctor seat nominated by the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, increasing the number of doctors directly appointed by the government, and adjusting the number of elected seats. All members returned by nomination or by election must be appointed by the Chief Executive, thereby reinforcing executive-led structure. I must emphasize that handling complaints is but one of the many functions of the Medical Council. Other critical functions such as training, medical education, formulation of standards, guidelines, require substantial input and deliberation from doctors. The enhanced mechanism for complaint investigation and inquiry will be led by independent assessors and will operate separately from the Medical Council. Therefore, the proportion of lay members on the Council should not be conflated with the complaint handling mechanism. Second, we will reform the complaint handling mechanism. We will make it more independent, impartial, transparent, and efficient. Now, in relation to complaint investigation and adjudication, we're going to put forward key enhancements. First, the Preliminary Investigation Committee, the PIC, and Inquiry Panel, IP, will be renamed the Medical Investigation Committee, MIC, and Medical Tribunal Panel, MTP, respectively. Both will be led by independent assessors appointed by the government, with at least 3 out of 5 members being independent assessors. The pool of assessors will be significantly expanded, with a nomination panel comprising up to 110 independent medical assessors and 170 independent lay assessors. These are non-doctors, to further demonstrate the independence and impartiality of the process. The Secretariat will be provided with enhanced professional and administrative support, while the investigative powers and legal support available to the MIC will be strengthened. The number of MIC members will be reduced to facilitate the establishment of more committees to handle cases simultaneously. The mechanism allowing MTP to refer cases back to the MIC will be abolished, thereby improving case management efficiency. The Council will be empowered to issue practice directions for proceedings and to establish and publish time targets for specific procedural stages in complaint handling. This will ensure that case management is more proactive, orderly, and transparent. On rationalizing penalties, 4 levels of disciplinary sanctions will be established, and the mechanism of suspending orders will be abolished. 5. Complainants and doctors involved will be allowed to apply to the panel for review of decisions. Additionally, the Secretariat if the Secretariat considers that an MTP decision is not in the interest, the Secretariat will be empowered to lodge an appeal to the Court of Appeal so as to ensure fairness and reasonableness of the process. Regarding options for disciplinary sanctions, we understand that the public often perceives the so-called suspended sentence as being too lenient. The proposed amendments will streamline the disciplinary framework by establishing a tiered system of sanctions. They include permanent removal from the register, removal from the register for a specified period, suspension for a specified period with automatic restoration of registration upon expiry of the suspension, and imposing conditions on registration. The approach ensures that sanctions are appropriate, clear, and tailored to the severity, risk, and circumstances of the case. Now, if the doctor's performance is not up to standard, we still have the available avenues of deregistration and suspension. The Medical Council may also impose specific conditions on the doctor's practice to address specific inadequacies in knowledge and skills. That, for example, only after undergoing training should the registration be restored. Concerns have been raised that conditional practice could become a substitute for the so-called suspended sentence. We must emphasize that the enhanced process will be led by independent assessors. The Medical Council will also consider establishing administrative sentencing guidelines for common scenarios for reference by the MTP to ensure more precise regulation and greater transparency. Third, the amendments will strengthen the protection of society and patients. As a highly trusted profession, doctors must maintain the highest standards of conduct in addition to their professional competence. The bill proposes that individuals convicted of offenses endangering national security or certain serious criminal offenses such as murder, manslaughter, rape, and other serious sexual or violent crimes will be subject to immediate removal from the register. Depending on the circumstances, they may also be permanently or temporarily disqualified from restoration of registration or from applying for registration, thereby safeguarding the professional reputation and ensuring national security. If the doctor is convicted of a criminal offense related to medical practice and sentenced to imprisonment or acquitted on grounds of his medical or mental condition or deemed unfit to stand trial, their practicing certificate will be immediately suspended until the Medical Council completes the relevant proceedings. The core principle remains that patient safety and public interest should come first. Fourth, the amendments also aim to enhance professional standards and stabilize the supply of doctors. On continuing medical education, or CME, we propose extending the mandatory CME requirement to all registered doctors. That is, apart from specialists, non-specialists, that is general physicians, must also undertake CME. It will become a prerequisite for the renewal of practicing certificate. This ensures that all doctors will continue to update their professional knowledge and clinical competence. On manpower supply, to address the rising demand for healthcare services, we propose to allow non-Hong Kong permanent residents to apply for special registration under the same eligibility criteria as Hong Kong permanent residents. This measure broadens the pool of talent and alleviates manpower pressure on the public healthcare system. The government and the hospital authority will continue to prioritize the employment of locally trained doctors. This proposal should not affect employment, internship, or specialist training opportunities for local graduates. President, this amendment represents a comprehensive and targeted reform of the regulatory framework. It maintains professional autonomy, due process, while focusing on enhancing efficiency, transparency, patient protection, and public confidence. We believe these proposals will enable the Medical Council of Hong Kong to better discharge its statutory functions and support the long-term development of Hong Kong's healthcare system. The high expectations of Chinese society has of doctors are so. For example, heal the world with the healer's calling. Great healers master both the art and the heart. Practice medicine with benevolence, professionalism, and treat every patient as their own child. These are a source of great pride for those in the profession. The result for IB examination has just been announced, to be followed soon by that for DSE. Medicine remains a very popular subject for university freshmen. I hope that the two medical schools admit not only cream of the crop but also train more great doctors. In Hong Kong, every medical student must pledge the Hippocratic Oath or the Declaration of Geneva. They must commit to prioritizing the health and well-being of patients as their lifelong mission. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the medical profession for its dedication over the years and the public for its trust and support, which have helped the professionalism and credibility of doctors in Hong Kong. This hard-earned trust is something we must collectively safeguard. I urge members to support the passage of the bill, and the government will fully cooperate with the Legislative Council. I so submit. Thank you, President. And I put the question to you that the aforesaid bill be read the second time. In accordance with the rules of procedure, the second reading debate is adjourned and the bill is referred to the House Committee.
Secretary for Development.